Well, welcome back, everybody, to another Growth Support Conversation. My name is Neil, and today I have the pleasure of speaking with Hilary, who is a support leader and really a great member of the community who's also guided many others. And that's exactly what we're going to talk about today, leveraging the community, CX mentorship, how to actually leverage the knowledge of others and create that community. So without further ado, Hilary, do you want to introduce yourself?
Yes, thank you so much, Neil. I'm very excited to be here. So I'm Hilary. I am the head of customer experience currently at Gamma, which is a startup AI tech company. And I have been in the customer support experience space for a decade now. This year makes it a decade. So hitting a milestone. I've done everything from being an agent myself to growing and scaling teams. So sharing knowledge is definitely something that's very near and dear to me, and something that I've relied on from folks in our community quite a bit on my journey. And I'm excited to talk about that today.
Nice. Well, I mean, when I joined like the communities and support driven, one of the first things that I saw was, hey, there's firesides, people are talking, and yours is actually one of the first that I saw when I joined as well, which is pretty
Really?
interesting. So yeah, I'm curious what kind of got you into exploring those connections in that community in the first place. What made you want to kind of branch out?
Yeah. So it was actually my very first startup that I started at, Handshake. One of the founders, I think, introduced this concept of support driven to me at the time. So it was like 2017, 2018, and suggested that I go to like one of the expos, and it kind of spiraled from there in a positive way. So I went to the expo, loved all the people that I met, did not realize that the network was like, there's so many people doing the same thing as me. Which was just so exciting. And just seeing all the vendors, it got me really excited and really energized. And so when I got back, I promptly joined the community, and I have been there ever since. But that's what got it started.
Nice. And like you mentioned, you started from the events, which is pretty surprising. Like most of the people that I've talked to started from like the community and then go to the events and then go to the events themselves. Do you think that there's a big difference between kind of the local in-person communities that you go to and more the online communities that you interact with?
Only in the sense that obviously there's global folks like yourself that I may not be able to see at local events. But other than that, I feel like the core folks, especially that have been in this community, are themselves no matter where they are. So I feel like there's really not a huge difference. I'm also an ambivert, so I do enjoy hanging out with people, and I am energized by people for a certain extent. So that's not like a stressful thing to me to like go be in person with these folks.
Yeah, I think it can also be a barrier for some people as well. It could be a little bit overwhelming, and maybe those digital online communities are a bit easier to engage with and things like that.
Exactly. It can be hard to bring your full authentic self to, a huge expo where you're already nervous and there's multi-tracks. It was a big one that I went to. It wasn't like a leadership. I was not in leadership yet. So it was quite large. So I can see how that would be really overwhelming for folks, or folks may struggle to like open up and like do icebreakers in person.
Nice. You mentioned that you went from being an agent yourself to really being able to kind of grow and then join the communities and have like really gotten the value out of that knowledge sharing and that kind of collective. Is there any particular way that you went about going to kind of surface that knowledge or reaching out? Like if somebody's joining a new community, do you have any advice for them?
Oh, like if they're joining and they want to start asking for advice, or if they're like,
Yeah.
they want to surface their own.
Yeah, I mean a little bit of both.
Yeah. Well, I think asking is always really easy. I think maybe I'm wrong, but I feel like if you, especially from the safety of your home behind your computer or your office, putting out a cry for help in a channel is probably fairly simple. I think that, one of the communities we're in, support driven, I think does a good job of like designating channels too. So you kind of get a sense of where you should be asking these questions. I think offering the advice or the guidance is harder because a lot of folks struggle with imposter syndrome. I know for a while, mine was an imposter syndrome. I wouldn't answer because I was like, well, my answer is common sense. Everyone knows to do this. And then I started saying, no, not everyone knows to do this. And that's okay. Say the thing.
Say the thing.
So yes, that's all right. And so, I mean, obviously I've spent a lot of time in that community now. So now I see like, okay, no, we're all saying the same things and that's okay. Like, yeah.
Yeah, it's definitely, I mean, people are at different stages of their journey, right? Like everybody
Yes.
is, somebody might be new, they might not know that yet. Maybe, I mean, the whole reason I started these conversations is to be able to hopefully help people who, I wish I would have had these resources 5 years ago. So
Yeah.
maybe we can give back and have those conversations and things, and those people will find it valuable as well. So I think
Yeah.
that is a really good opportunity. Like, maybe not everybody doesn't know that if it's common
Yeah.
knowledge.
And no judge. Like, I definitely wasn't judging these people, but I was like, what I have to say cannot possibly need to be said. Like, everyone knows this, right? But not everyone had the experiences that I did to lead me to that conclusion or to that answer. So you're exactly right. Everyone's paths are different. So now, this far along on my journey, I definitely do frame it in terms of giving back. This community has given me a lot, including connections that lead to opportunities. So I want to make sure that I'm giving it back to those same people or to the people that are joining.
Yeah. I feel that's like one of the reasons why I decided to stay in the customer functions as well as specifically because of the community and the value that people and the kindness that people showed when I joined as well. So I think it's a really great way to be able to just understand other people in general and also feel not
Yeah.
alone. You mentioned when you joined, you were like, hey, I'm not the only one who's going through this.
Yeah, that's awesome. I was so new to the tech world, man. That was my first tech job. I don't have a tech background. I have a background in opera. That's what I wanted to be. I was an opera singer growing up. And so that's what I went to school for. But I worked customer service jobs the entire way through. I worked my way through school. And once I got this opportunity, I was like, hey, I'm kind of good at this. I could turn this into something. So that's how I pivoted. But yeah, I definitely did not have a tech background. So I was not familiar with, the Bay Area or Silicon Valley or all these startups. I wasn't plugged in at all. And so being plunged into that expo was a good start.
Nice. It's very different backgrounds, jumping from opera to CX and being to where you are right now.
Yes.
I'm always interested because whenever I talk to people, a lot of the times I was never trained for this. I don't know. I just kind of ended up here. We fell into it a little bit. And so I think one of the things that I love about community is that people come together to kind of collectively grow and share that knowledge as well. Yeah. You mentioned that mentorship was something that was really important and you find is coming a lot more common and is a great opportunity for people to learn. Is there kind of mentorship that you've gone through, and what did you get out of it?
Yeah, I have done the Aspire program a couple of times now. I did one as a mentee and then one as a mentor, and then I've signed up again. So we'll see if I get matched with anybody this time. That was incredibly helpful. It was very validating. And in fact, at the end of my session as a mentee, my mentor said, you should just mentor next time. I'm like, what do you so that was really validating because I was really struggling. And at that point in my journey, I think I was definitely questioning if I belonged. There's definitely a period of questioning about 3-4 years into my journey. So that was really helpful. And so I'm just so thankful for those people that, stepped in, or just connections that I made in the community that were validating and supportive along the way. I want to give that back and be that to new people now. I'm very sure of myself now, and maybe too much so, very confident. So I want to give that back to people because I remember how that felt to receive that. It felt immensely amazing. And, I will never forget them. I still remember all their names, all the people that said these things to me.
I will always remember those people as well. Like I remember my first ever event in the channels of my first post, and then I created like this 200 reply thread of just people like, let's go, let's like share this, let's fix it. I was like, oh great, oh my lord, what's happening?
Wait, did you start that thread? Was that your initial, like based off your? Oh wow.
I was like, well, it was like metric. People are not metrics. People aren't numbers, and then yeah, it's a very hot topic. But I mean, your experience as a mentor, you mentioned you started as a mentee, you started growing, and people struggle with imposter syndrome. It's something that's really difficult, and mentorship can help and be used validating as well. You mentioned now you're really sure of yourself, you're really confident, and you're maybe a little too much. So how did you bridge that gap or that mindset?
I think part of it is time, which maybe people don't want to hear, but I think just the pure measure of time, and you just see the folks that really get it and they're sticking around, and you're like, I'm doing the same thing. I'm still here too. Okay, we're clearly all doing something right. And I think you just start to see patterns. Patterns emerge much more clearly over time, right? So whether that's within your company itself, within the tech world itself, within support itself, you start to see these patterns. You're like, aha, I've dealt with this problem before, or this is one step adjacent to this problem that I've dealt with. You start to see those patterns, and then it makes it easier to solutionize and share those solutions. So it's not something you can rush, but I feel like time has been my biggest piece for that.
Settling in and really getting that kind of foundation built that you can rely on and go back to that experience.
Yes, exactly. Yeah.
Nice. And when you go through that experience of kind of building that foundation and getting people to really, support you in the journey, I think it's like, I'm always like, please help validate me. Like, am I on the right track? Like, how do you use community and reach out to the collective to kind of get that information? Is there a particular kind of, practical thing that you think somebody could do to kind of start exercising that muscle a little bit, or kind of validating that experience?
Yeah, I mean, if they're maybe nervous or anxious about starting, just start really small. Maybe don't start with an in-person event. Maybe don't start with, there's peer group meetings, there's senior leadership roundtable meetings that happen virtually. Maybe don't start there. I mean, everyone's so kind. You'll be so welcomed, and we all have opinions. We will gladly give them to you, but maybe start really small, just in a channel with a simple question, and see how folks react and what engagement you get, and kind of go from there. Or try answering somebody else's question. Maybe that feels more comfortable too. That could be a way. Hey, I've done this. I've built this graph, or I've done this thing. And here's how it goes.
Start simple.
Start small. Yeah.
That's really, I mean, it's the first step, right?
It's the first step. You guys, take a step somewhere. So yeah, just start small. Or honestly, like, I know there's random threads in there too. Like, maybe don't even ask a question at first. Maybe just share your favorite food or whatever hot take is happening, because those are also very fun as well, and breaks the ice a little bit.
Yeah, I mean, then you really see who's on which side.
Right.
I think just as a collective journey, like, especially a lot of the support people that I've interacted with are also very much like, hey, that's really great. They're really inclusive. They're really understanding. They're really able to really let you in and feel comfortable as well.
Yeah. I mean, we're support folks. I feel like we're highly empathetic. We're really kind. And I think we're just happy to be talking to other people that get it too. So like, we'll be patient. We'll be kind. We're not going to eat your face. We're going to be good.
It's helpers helping helpers. So
exactly. Yes. And it might help us too. I have definitely been in that position where, someone asks for something or asks a question about something, and I'm like, oh shit, I've been working on this. I should finish this. Then I could share it. All right, I'm going to go do this. So it definitely motivates me to make sure I'm staying on top of my things as well, which is also a positive.
Yeah, there's so many threads that I'm like, I have this thing, like, I've started it. It's structured, but then they ask me more questions. I'm like, I didn't think about that yet. I need to go consider that.
Hold on, I'll be back. I mean, that's definitely how you first came onto my radar, was not your podcast or anything else, but was definitely just you always in threads, always with a resource. I'm like, what does this man do that he has all these things ready to go all the time? And you write very long paragraphs. It's not like you're giving one sentence answers.
The URLs live rent free in my brain.
Yes.
Yeah, my advice is just be active. Like, that's what I try to do, and people respond to that, and just they will also help you in return. It's what you mentioned, like, start simple. People are really inclusive. They like to help, and if you help them, they'll help you, and that's how I've been able to build those relationships.
Yeah, I definitely feel that. And I definitely had a lull in my previous role where, it was not the best situation and things were going south pretty quickly. And I was letting it take over sort of me as the person. And so I really wasn't myself. And so I kind of stopped posting and stopped responding in, support driven for a while. And then once I was laid off, I came back and was like, this sucks. I'm like, now I'm asking for help, but I'm in present for like the last year and a half. So I've been far more intentional ever since about like staying active and, you know, giving back so that I don't feel so guilty about taking mine as well.
I think it's an interesting balance when you create that sense of community as well. Like when you're actually a part of it, like people come and go, and I mean, it's life, right? It's like there's things that happen outside of it, and you don't always know those things. So it's also just being empathetic and getting to know the people behind it as well, rather than just, oh, hey, yeah, we chatted this one time, but I have no idea.
Right, exactly. 100%, yeah.
You mentioned that you were a mentee before, you're a mentor a couple of times now, you're going to do the mentorship again. When somebody goes into, like, from the mentor perspective, when you get a mentee, what do you think would set that mentee up for success going into a mentorship program?
If they have clear goals, I think that's always obviously much easier to work with, especially because I don't have a background as a therapist or a counselor or anything like that. So having some clear goals, I really want to work on my public speaking, or I really want to, even if they have a career aspiration, maybe they're not even there yet. I really want to be a director and I'm only a senior manager right now. How do I get there? How do I like make that jump? If they have some clear goals, I can definitely work with that and either apply the experience I have or find somebody else that often I find in the community. I'm like, oh, well, Neil has done this. Like, let me steal some of the things he's done and distribute this as advice.
Let's go.
Yeah. So have some clear goals, even if it's just one single goal. And I'm sure, it's also a struggle too when you're a mentee, like you don't know what you don't know. So at least one goal will get you started. And then as you chat and you meet and you have these conversations, you'll probably learn more along the way than just pertaining to that single goal.
Yeah, there's a discovery part of that process as well, and being able to learn and understand what's going on.
Yeah.
One thing that I found with mentorship programs, just in general, as a practice, is sometimes it can be really easy to kind of put it on the back burner, or maybe like it starts to be a little bit less consistent, and then you stop doing it and it kind of drops off. Is there something you would say that could help somebody with consistency and keeping that top of mind?
Ooh, like during that specific program itself, or do you mean from like one iteration? Okay. I mean, for me, it's always putting it on the calendar. If I don't put it on the calendar, I often will forget, but I'm very good about looking at my calendar and looking ahead. And so if it's on my calendar, I will prep for it the week before. So I think that helps keep it top of mind for me. I don't know. I think that would be my biggest. Have you found anything else that works well for you?
Just go poke people. Just bug them.
Yeah. Oh, are you saying it's like from the mentee's perspective? Like,
hey, either perspective. No. Yeah, I mean, I think as a mentee, it's important to really keep it on your calendar, really try and hold yourself accountable, because the mentor is really there to help you and to support you and to be a resource for you, right? But if you don't use them, then they're not there. As a mentor, like I know that consistency can be really difficult for mentees. So sometimes I'll just, hey, quick reminder, like we're gonna have our session soon. Do you wanna go prep for it? If we need to make sure that you were prepped for anything, or you want anything to ask or specific, just kind of have that check-in pretty regularly to try and say, hey, like, let's not reschedule this time so that we make sure that happens.
That is a very good point. Yeah. And I've never had anyone like be offended by a gentle nudge, especially like 5 days in advance. Like, hey, we're meeting next week. Like, just want to make sure we're ready to discuss this, or you have this thing written, or whatever you want to me to review. Just a little reminder. Yeah, I think that's good. But once again, for me, that comes down to just put it on the calendar, even if it's remind. I have so many of those. Remind so-and-so, reping so-and-so. I do it for work too. So
the task list is endless because it's all those micro tasks, right?
But my calendar is public too. So I'm sure like my colleagues could creep, my engineers could creep and be like, oh, she's going to ping me at 5 o'clock. Okay, cool.
They're like pinging you first.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
It's always funny. Yesterday or so, I had one of my team members like, "Hey, can we schedule this meeting?" I'm like, "I don't have any more times for meetings." And then they were like, "Oh yeah, when you said you didn't have time for meetings, I thought it was like just a comment, but I looked at your calendar. You really have no more time for meetings." I was like, "Yeah, yeah, yeah."
Yeah, that's my current boss. I don't know how he does it. He is so outgoing, and it's just blocks. It's just all filled up.
So I mean, like, that's one of those things, because one of the things that I found is, like, we're a part of industry communities. We speak with industry people.
Mhm.
At the same time, we're also in the industry, in the work, like doing it
Yeah.
very busily.
Mhm.
How do you find the time to connect with people and stay active?
It's hard, and so I will just prioritize doing one thing if that's the case. So, I mean, even it always happens too in support driven. I feel like come January, every single person that has a podcast is like, "I'm accepting you guys for podcasts." uh, and so, what I've learned to do rather than drink from a fire hose is be like, "Okay, I'm gonna reach out to Neil. I want to chat with Neil, but I'm not gonna, do anything else with anyone else until, March. Give myself a little bit of time. My work's also ramping up. We're also kicking off a new year. So starting small. So and that boils down to I'm pointing like you can see like my calendar. Like there's, the CXL peer meeting group today. Okay, I'm going to do that one, but I'm going to deprioritize this one next week. So just picking and choosing and just being intentional, maybe one thing a week or one thing a month. That way I don't get overwhelmed, because otherwise then I feel really stressed and I just don't want to do any of it.
Yeah, and then what you originally set out to be something to connect with other people and give you energy and value becomes something that's like a stressful, anxiety-inducing task, and you're like, "Oh, I don't actually let go of
Yeah.
it a little bit." And
Or it's just draining. I'm not showing up as my best self and I'm just drained, and I'm sure I'm a bummer for everyone else involved. You know what I mean? So showing up with intention and being energized about it, just picking and choosing. But that's a life thing that I've been learning. That's not just work, I mean, just another example. I feel like I bring this up in every podcast, but I play roller derby and I went really hard last season. For example, like I think my attendance was probably 95%. It does not need to be 95%. We are not a pro sports team. And so I've learned this season, I'm gonna take some Sundays off. I'm gonna chill a little bit. I'm gonna be a great teammate, meet expectations. I'll exceed expectations, but not to the point. You got to find where that line for burnout is.
yeah, definitely, and be responsible with it in a sense, and don't take on too much, and make sure you can maintain that balance.
Exactly. It's better to be consistent and maybe at a lesser cadence than I feel like wildly like undependable, and but you just have all these things going on.
Yeah, and but roller derby, that's super cool.
Yeah, it's super fun. Super fun.
But I think that's also the thing. Like, I know that people will be hesitant to reach out because they're like, "Oh, it's this person, it's that person." Like, I had somebody uh yesterday or so, recently, just say like, "Hey, can you introduce me to can you shake hands? Can you introduce me to this person?" I'm like, I'm also just a person. Like, you can just chat with
Right.
me. It doesn't need to be anything official. Like,
No.
it's wild. Like, the baseline for me is that it's people meeting people and having that human experience of connection in that sense. Like, we're all going through it. We all have different things. We all have things we love. We all have things that we are dealing with, and a lot of those are shared experiences as well. So
Mhm.
it's not that anybody is any different.
No, no. And if someone is too busy, I would hope at this point in the community, they would just be like, "Hey, I would love to. I just can't with my current workload." Like, just direct is always best. Just be direct, because then the person knows, okay, it's not me. They just don't have the time right now. So just let them know. But I mean, I feel like all of us are givers, and we'll probably eke out a couple extra 20 minutes for that person if they ask. So
Probably. But I mean, you mentioned something. When you're reaching out to these people, you're connecting with them. Maybe people don't have the time, and they'll tell
Mhm.
you.
Yeah.
And we're talking about the human experience and people meeting people. But outside of like an actual mentorship program where you get paired against each other and you're actually like having that kind of mutual handshake, is there a way that or somebody should be able to find a mentor outside of that, like naturally in the wild?
That's a great question. I never managed to do it myself. So maybe. I know that folks have. I've definitely spoken with other people that have found their person or their mentor. Maybe it was someone senior in their company, maybe not even directly in the CX or support, silo, but maybe in a different, but they just mesh, the leadership styles work, and they have this bond. I definitely can think of people like that. It's never really happened for me. I don't know. I also don't know. I mean, you can learn from everyone. Like you said, it's people meeting people. So like, I just love watching people. I love people watching. I will sit happily with Malsworthing and just watch people and like speculate about them kindly, but just like people are fascinating. So I feel like you can take a little bit from everybody, including what not to do, honestly. Even if you have like a terrible person in your org or around you, you can learn what not to do. And that's just as valuable.
True. Like some of the greatest leadership lessons that I've learned is the example of absolutely how not to do it.
Yep. We will never do it that way again. Cool. Yeah.
Exactly. I mean, is there something that you would look for if you are a mentee trying to seek out that mentorship from someone? What would make a good mentor for you?
Ooh.
Because you mentioned find your person, like
find your people. I mean, there's probably some sort of shared experience outside of CX. I feel like that always helps bond a little bit more, but I don't think it's necessary. But I think that's probably what sparks these more ad hoc ones, is that they found some other commonality. And so they're bonding over this. And then the other thing that I would probably look for is just, are they the type of person you would want? Are they a good human? Are they the type of person that you would want to be? Do you want to model yourself after this person? If yes, then I would proceed. If no, maybe take pause and find somebody else. I mean, I have 2 kids, and that's what we always tell them. Like, we don't care what you do with your lives, but you have to be good humans. If you're not good humans, you're gonna have problems. So, so I think finding a good human, honestly, because from there you can go. Maybe they don't have a great communication style that works for you. That's okay. You can probably still learn something from them, and feel safe and confident modeling yourself after certain parts of what they're doing, because they're inherently a good person. They might just really suck at public speaking or PowerPoints or whatever. That's like really broad, but I don't really know as someone who has not actually done it myself. But I think that's what I would do, honestly.
Just someone that you connect with and that you can kind of vibe with, in that sense of like really be able to have that mesh instead of something that just feels off or clunky or like
yeah, because if it feels for it, I definitely had one where I was a mentor and there's mentee, and I think I was still kind of inexperienced, so I didn't say, hey, like maybe you should have somebody else, or I actually know somebody that is doing what you're trying to do, and we just kind of limped through the whole thing. And it's not that she was doing anything wrong, and I don't think I was doing anything wrong. It was just it's not a great fit.
Yeah, you want to be able to also share that experience and be able to really help and provide value. I mean, we talk about doing that with customers all the time. If it's not a fit, it's not a fit. Like, you can also tell customers, no, it's okay. Like, I'm sure that the exact same rule applies in that sense. If it's not a fit, it's not a fit. And that's okay to say.
Yes, 100%. Oh, yeah. And when leadership supports in that, oh my gosh, it's all lovely.
That's a whole different conversation.
That's a very different topic. We will not tackle that today, but yeah. But exactly, yeah. And there's no harm, there's no bad feelings, right? It's just business. If this isn't the best fit, that's okay. No, no one should take it personally.
Yeah, indeed. But I mean, it sounds like the community has done a lot for you, and I would love to see if people would like to connect with you, where they can do that.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm always open to DMs, as long as you're not selling me anything in the community. So feel free to DM. I'm also on LinkedIn. I can send you my LinkedIn profile. I don't, if you want to post it with this, that's really fine. I think it's in my profile as well, my Slack profile. But those would be the 2 best ways to connect. I had another call last week, where someone just reached out on LinkedIn and was like, I just really want to talk to you. I don't want to sell you anything. I'm like, let's just connect. Great, let's do it. So I'm always open to that.
Nice. And I have one last question for you on the topic. Well, kind of not on the topic, but on the topic. Is there one thing from your professional career and through this journey that you've learned that you still stick to today?
Ooh. I've learned many things, but one single thing that I haven't always stuck to, but I'm being much more intentional, is be your authentic self. Because if it's not a fit, it's not a fit, and that's okay. So better to just bring your full self and be yourself, and to whatever, to your mentorship program, to your community work and the communications that you're having there, to your job. Be yourself. It's the easiest way to show up, and then things will fall into place there. You'll learn boundaries, you'll learn, who meshes well with you, who doesn't, and folks understand. I feel like it reduces friction when folks understand who you are, because you're already just showing up as that person. That's mine. Do as I say. Yeah.
I mean, I really tried to spend some time and sit down and think about those personal values for growth support and the things I'm doing. And one of them is focus on kindness. And kindness isn't always being just nice and fluffy. It's being your authentic and genuine self with good intention. And I think, yeah, you can only be authentic and genuine. And that's, if you're fake, people are going to smell it a mile away.
Yes, they are, even if they can't put their finger on it. And so then that tarnishes everything that you're saying. If you're being fake, but you are giving genuine advice based out of true experiences, if it smells fishy, people might not even be, so just be yourself, flaws and all. We're all messed up. And honestly, it's very validating to see people that are like, I struggle with this, or I'm not good at this. And to see that they've still had a very successful career is very validating and very inspiring too.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, thank you again so much for joining me for the conversation. I really loved it. I like just being able to talk about people, things, and connecting, and the like kind of part of it that we'll talk about functional stuff. We talk about like the things that we're working on, but it's really nice to connect with people and just talk about the actual act of just connecting with people.
It is. I absolutely love it. I'm down anytime. We can chat about it. I love talking about people and people stuff.
Well, thank you so much. I really appreciate it.
Thank you so much, Neil. It was awesome. Have a good rest of your day.